Now, the UK has agreed to transfer the sovereignty of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. Among the islands in the Indian Ocean is Diego Garcia, which hosts a joint British and US military base. Our correspondent Matthew Thompson joins me now. Matthew, this is all about a deal to protect the continued operation of the US and UK military base on Diego Garcia, it seems. What does it mean for those islanders who are fighting to get back?
Yes, for around 1,000 islanders who were initially kicked off the islands way back as long ago as 1968, and for them it will mean potentially at the end to over half a century of legal disputes. I think the important thing to say is that in handing over its sovereignty back to Mauritius, basically, one of the key things that has been agreed by the British government is that the continued operation of that US-UK military base on Diego Garcia, the largest of the Chagos Islands, will continue, and that base will be allowed to remain. In a statement, the Foreign Secretary David Lammy said that this government inherited a situation where the long-term secure operation of the Diego Garcia military base was under threat, with contested sovereignty and ongoing legal challenges. Today's agreement, he said, secures this vital military base for the future. It will strengthen our role in safeguarding global security, shut down any possibility of the Indian Ocean being used as a dangerous illegal migration route to the UK, as well as guaranteeing our long-term relationship with Mauritius, a close Commonwealth partner. But perhaps worth a very brief history lesson, if I may. I mean, this dispute, as I said, dates back to 1968, when Mauritius gained its independence from Britain, and they have long argued that as part of that secession, they were effectively forced to give up the Chagos Islands. And as I say, in the process of doing so, around 1,000 islanders were effectively evicted by Britain from the archipelago. And they'd also, around the same time, the British government agreed a secret deal with the United States to lease Diego Garcia for this military base. And the islanders have fought a long-running legal battle. As recently as 2016, they were in the Supreme Court and they lost that legal battle against the UK government. And what's really interesting, though, here is the sort of long-running diplomatic context. So at the very beginning of this dispute, Mauritius was pretty much on its own, but gradually they've garnered more and more international support. The African nations increasingly speaking with one voice and criticising British sovereignty. It's been described, as I said, by many people as Britain's last colony in Africa, and also the United Nations, and also more recently the International Court of Justice eventually sided with Mauritius's claims for sovereignty around the island. So that sort of international diplomatic pressure has been building for some time, and Joe Biden, the US president, has released a statement today applauding what he termed a historic agreement. But then it's also not without its critics. So a number of conservative voices, not least 3 of the current candidates for Conservative leader, have tweeted their opposition to this agreement. And also the former Defence Secretary, no longer an MP, of course, but Grant Shapps was particularly strident in his criticisms. He said, "This is absolutely appalling. Surrendering sovereignty here creates read across to other British bases. It's a weak and deeply regrettable act from this government." Although I think it should be pointed out, just as a final thought, that these negotiations have been ongoing since, well, at least 2022. So it's not as if this is just something that, since it came to power in the summer, the Labour government has decided to do. This has been a long-running negotiation, which was also taking place under previous Conservative administrations as well.
Matthew, thanks very much.